no offense to Kevin Bacon, but when it comes to degrees of separation between artists and actors and icons and movers and shakers, nobody is more entwined with the cultural fabric of the past 30 years than Sean Combs, Puff Daddy, Puffy, P. Diddy, whatever you call him. His fingerprints are all over music and television and fashion and fragrances, even the liquor that we've been drinking for decades. And even if you don't know Diddy from Puff Daddy, no judgment, boo. He's had many acts. But he's more than likely made an impression on everybody watching right now. I don't care what your age is. Maybe you'll never forget when he dated J-Lo. That was a big thing, quarter century ago. Trust me. Before Ben Jen, it was Diddy Jen. But then it was Puff Jen, actually. He launched the Vote or Die in 2004. It became a really big deal there for a lot of people. He also threw those star-studded white parties in the Hamptons where everybody who was anybody went. Maybe you saw these pictures. Maybe you were there. Maybe you drank that Ciroc vodka that he was shilling forever, right? Maybe you wore a pair of his jeans. Sean John was a heck of a label. And maybe Bad Boy Entertainment opened your eyes and ears to a world that you never knew existed. Now, of course, Sean Combs' legacy, just like his liberty, his fortune, and his future, that all hangs in the balance of a sex crimes trial underway right now in New York federal court. But those connections and Diddy's impact not only are not fading away, they are under the spotlight like never before, in the last place you might expect. Jury selection. Like, it's never exciting, jury selection. Oh, it's boring. You wait till the panel's picked and then the good stuff starts. No, not in this case. Jury selection's been amazing. The candidates are being asked about their own connections to or impressions of an array of celebrities, and with no explanation why, at least not yet. The parlor games have begun, my friends. Everybody is trying to connect the dots between the shiny, famous names and the beleaguered rap star Diddy and the charges. Just today, the name Robert Downey Jr. came up in court. When a prospective juror said that he knew a Robert Downey in high school, it was kind of funny. But Robert Downey, the actor, and Diddy apparently do know each other and have been seen together in public. But Robert Downey Jr. reportedly never attended Diddy's parties. So if he does figure into this trial somehow, it's going to be a lot of news to a lot of us. Mike Myers, another favorite Canadian, favorite actor, favorite comedian. He is on the jury question list as well. And that, too, is a tongue-wagging mystery. Unless it's about the quick jab at Diddy that he took in the Austin Powers movie? I don't know. Doesn't seem likely. Rolling Stone magazine reports that actor Michael B. Jordan made the list because Diddy once threatened him for dating Diddy's ex-girlfriend, Cassie Ventura. Same goes for the rapper Kid Cudi. USA Today says that Cassie's lawsuit claimed that Diddy threatened to blow up Kid Cudi's car. Music producer Dallas Austin may have made the list for his ties to the late Kim Porter, who was mom to 4 of Diddy's kiddies. And singer Dawn Richard from the girl group Danity Kane, she is likely on the famous people list because she's one of Diddy's many accusers. Not in his criminal case, but she sued him civilly last year, claiming that she saw him abuse Cassie, his girlfriend, and that she herself was sexually assaulted, deprived of food, and cheated out of money that she was owed. Guess what? You're going to hear from her attorney in just a hot minute. But first, I want to bring in NewsNation correspondent Caitlin Becker, who's outside the federal courthouse in Lower Manhattan. Caitlin's been covering this case gavel to gavel. Okay, first of all, let's just start with the drip, drip, drip of all the names, because the internet is really on fire. What happened today?
You know, Ashleigh, a lot of the same things. You get asked these same exact questions about these celebrities with no real context as to why. And you really hit the nail on the head a minute ago when you said jury selection's kind of boring, but not in the Diddy case. Most prospective jurors who come into jury selection have never heard of the defendant, let alone have an opinion of them. But what we heard today was prospective jurors who were excluded because they flat out said they don't like Diddy going into it. They don't have a favorable opinion. One guy said he believed Diddy has enough money to buy his way out of jail. So those jurors immediately excluded. There was also some laughs in the courtroom today from the attorneys and the judge when one prospective juror said that he couldn't guarantee that he wouldn't be able to smoke marijuana for all 8 to 10 weeks of the trial. So that person was excluded. But by the end of the day, they've added 10 more people to that pool of 45 that they're trying to get, because they're not impaneling the jury, like I said, typically as how we think of it. They're going to have a pool of 45 people who are acceptable prospective jurors. They expect that to be done tomorrow. And from that pool of 45, that is where they're going to choose their 12 jurors and their 6 alternates, Ash.
You realize that that marijuana guy has just set the bar for every other person out there who wants to get out of jury duty. You just tell the judge that you're a dope smoker and you can't give it up. I can't believe that was a reason to be like punted, but I can. Okay, the other thing I didn't quite understand, especially on the, the day after the Met Gala, the toast of the town and costumery, Diddy showed up in the same clothes. He's wearing the same outfit. Do we expect that this is a ploy? Is this a mistake that lawyers forgot to bring him a fresh change? What was going on there?
Same outfit really surprised me, too. I expected maybe a version of that outfit, but not the same exact one. It is a little dressed down for court, so I don't know if maybe we're going to see a suited Diddy when it comes time for the trial to actually begin come Monday. But there aren't any cameras in the courtroom. There's no cameras. There's no still cameras. There's no photography. There's no video cameras. And he doesn't walk in and out, so we don't really see him. So maybe that had something to do with it. He's not kind of performing for anyone in there, but is he, though? His cousin was in there again, the one that walks in wearing the Free Puffy shirt, and they seem to kind of nod and non-verbally communicate with each other in court today, Ash, when he was going in and out, and every time he could turn around to the gallery, they seemed like they had some sort of understanding and some signals. But tomorrow is going to be really interesting. Tomorrow is when they're going to use those preemptory challenges where both sides get to say no, 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 no to the jurors they don't want, and they've saved all of them for tomorrow.
And they don't have to say why. That's the magic of peremptories. You just get to wave your wand, and it doesn't matter what your reason, except it can't be if they're in a protected class. And there are ways to find that out. Caitlin, good job. Thank you for that. Really appreciate it.
Sash.
All right. For the last 2 days, attorney Lisa Bloom has been in Sean Combs' courtroom as an observer, but a very, very interested observer, because Lisa Bloom represents a government witness who she says is likely to take the stand. She also represents 2 of Diddy's civil accusers, including that famous one I just talked about, Dawn Richard. I spoke with Lisa Bloom earlier today about what she can tell me about this trial, since she's an insider. I was so curious about you, first because I adore you, but secondly because you're very involved and engaged in this process. You have 2 clients who are civil accusers against P. Diddy, and you have 1 client who is a witness in this criminal case. So clearly I'm going to push you as far as I can. Who is the witness? Are you able to tell me anything about your client who's the witness?
Unfortunately, I'm not. That name is still confidential. I was hoping that during the jury selection process, the judge would be reading a list of witnesses and then the press would hear it. But that has not happened yet. So I'm trying to be mindful and respect the rules. And so I can't disclose that right now.
Understandable. That will come soon, so I'll call you again. And then one of your other clients, Dawn Richard, you and I have talked about her before. She's one of the civil accusers, but her name came up in court yesterday as one of the celebrities, and there's just myriad celebrities that have been named so far, and a lot of these jurors are being asked if they recognize the celebrities. So let's start with Dawn Richard and her nexus now to the criminal case. What can you talk to me about?
Right. So a lot of names came up like Kanye West and Mike Myers, right? And Michael B. Jordan. That doesn't necessarily mean these folks are going to be witnesses in the case. They might be, but more likely they're going to be mentioned. That's the phrase that the judge used. And so it could be that someone is telling a story. I was at a party and this happened and that happened and Don Richard was there or Mike Myers was there. I think that is more likely.
So that's the thing, that whenever you name a celebrity, the internet kind of explodes and everybody starts putting together theories about what the nexus is between that particular celebrity and this particular case. The big question I have, and I'm not sure if you know, but is how many of the celebrities who are out there now are shaking in their boots because of evidence that will possibly be presented in open court, videos that will be played, names that will be named. Is this going to be like a mass outing?
You know, I wonder the same thing, Ashleigh. Apparently, the potential jurors were given a list of over 100 names and asked if they recognize any of those names, because those are people who will either be witnesses or they will be mentioned. And so we, on the outside, don't know what those names, I don't have that list, right? But when they're talking about it during jury selection, that's an open process. So everybody who's in there, including me, we're all writing those names down. Now, I don't know what connection Michael B. Jordan has to the case, or Mike Myers has to the case, or Audrey O'Day, the singer, or Kid Cudi, the singer. I don't know what connection they have to the case, but we know that their names are out there so that if any of the jurors had a connection, they would have to reveal it. So far, a number of people have, of course, have said, oh, yes, I know that the person, I don't know them personally, but I recognize the name. But beyond that, we don't know. But are people shaking in their boots? I mean, I would imagine some are. And at a very minimum, I'm sure these folks do not appreciate their name being mentioned in the Sean Combs sex trafficking trial, but there's not a lot they can do about it either.
Or maybe they appreciate the fact that their names aren't being mentioned with really awful facts next to them. As long as it remains nebulous, for those who might be guilty, that's not a bad thing. For those who may be completely innocent, they're probably frustrated that the context wasn't attached early on. One last question, and it's a 60,000-foot view. And that is that we are in a post-Me Too environment where it feels sometimes like the pendulum has been swinging back against women. Blake Lively has been taking it on the chin publicly. You have Amber Heard, who lost terribly, not only in court, but in the public opinion as well. And I'm wondering if you think that same zeitgeist exists right now and might employ itself in the Diddy trial.
You know, Ashleigh, I've been representing victims of discrimination, harassment, and abuse since 1986, nearly 40 years, and I have lived with the pendulum swinging one way and then the other way. And you're right, with Me Too and 2017 and the couple of years after that, it really swung in favor of women. And has it swung back? I mean, maybe to some extent, but I think Me Too is not over. I think we have educated people about, for example, that victims may take years to come forward, especially against a powerful person that they work with. I think people understand that better. They don't expect them to run to the police immediately. Maybe they'll never go to the police, and I think people understand that. You know, one thing that's made me sad sitting through the jury selection in the court is how many people say they have been the victim of sexual harassment or sexual assault, or somebody close to them has. It's still quite a large number, and if you break it down to the female jurors, even larger. I mean, I think most of them have had some kind of experience with sexual harassment or sexual assault, so we certainly still have a long way to go.
Lisa, great to see you. I hope we can talk as the trial continues throughout the next couple of weeks.
Great to see you as well. Thank you for your coverage.
I'm joined now by Lindsay Granger. She's an entertainment journalist and NewsNation contributor. She's also a former supervising producer for Diddy's Revolt TV. Lindsay, good to have you back on the show. Thanks for doing this. So, big question. Every time a famous name drops, there's like a supercharged zap that goes through the internet where everyone tries to do the parlor game of figuring out what that guy or that girl has in connection to Diddy. Are we going to actually see these connections? Is this going to ruin people, this case?
Well, I think every time we see a name drop, we see a heart drop from the PR team or for the celebrity themselves. I think nobody wants to be attached to such egregious charges. And even the headline, and we know we live in a fast-paced headline, Instagram-consuming world right now. Unfortunately, people don't read beyond that. So if you see, you know, somebody is now subpoenaed to come to trial, like Michael B. Jordan or Lauren London, obviously people are going to have questions about how they're attached to this and why. And some have substantial potential connections to this trial. So when we talk about people like Kid Cudi, the LA Fire Department actually corroborated the story that a car on his property did blow up around that time of year when Cassie filed the civil charge and also named that as a real thing that happened. He talked about, Cassie talked about it. Dawn Richards corroborated some of these abuse stories. And so I think there's a lot of people that actually could speak to the character, which they're trying to build a story, a lifestyle, a culture, a character flaws, and try to show you that why this person who you may have known or idolized, which the jury is not supposed to, is somebody who maybe you didn't know that well. And I think that's what they're trying to do.
So you worked for Diddy's Revolt TV for years. You had one-on-one with him. He would visit the network, I think a couple times a year, maybe up to 4 times a year. I wonder, like, will people like you be called, people that you worked with, to testify maybe on his behalf to say our work environment was great? Because I know you've said you never had any incidents.
Yeah, I think that there are probably people that worked closer directly with Diddy at the time. As I said, I was a supervising producer for the news department, and I think there were levels of people who actually worked directly with him making decisions that probably will be called, because a lot of his brands are under Combs Enterprises, where people cross-pollinate and work for a lot of different places. But yeah, like I said, my experience, as you and I have discussed, is not anything that falls in line with these charges. I was actually alarmed by them, but I think it's a bigger thing of sweeping things under the rug and the culture of this bravado instead of the culture of honesty and empathy in leadership, and how sometimes we take superstars and we make them not human. And so we allow, there couldn't be no one that saw this. You showed pictures earlier of the party and how many people were attending, celebrities and otherwise, staff members. Somebody saw something. And so I think that's going to come to light. And some of those people had to be staffers, people that coordinated and organized things like his girlfriend or wife getting to and from. There are a lot of people that have a lot of different opinions and stakes here. And so if they do get subpoenaed, I think there's going to be plenty to stay with people that worked with him in a variety of ways.
Yeah, well, a lot of the people who we're picturing right now may or may not be on the list and may or may not have anything to do with anything. There were a lot of famous people. There's the prince. There's the king's 2 kids, 2 princes who partied with Diddy. Literally everybody who had a famous name and was on an A-list was probably at a Diddy party at some point, just maybe not in the alleged freak-off parts of the party. Lindsay, great to have you. Thanks for doing this. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Ashley.
We'll call on Lindsay again as we continue to cover this. I do want you to know that we reached out to Sean Combs' attorneys today, and we have reached out to them many days in a row and requested a statement from them. They do give us statements often. Today, though, we did not get a statement back from them. I think they're pretty busy, obviously, in jury selection.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.